Welcome back, ballroom dance friends. Today, we're going to answer a question by our ballroom dance friend, Alex, who asked in our comments, do different body types pull off different categories better? For example, I would think a taller couple should utilize more shaping because the shapes will appear more noticeable on a longer body. However, they might want to not use as much flight because no longer could cause more collisions. I would enjoy hearing your thoughts and theories surrounding the idiosyncrasies of choreography design. So this is actually a part of a larger question Alex asked, and I'll address the rest of that in a separate video because this is its own unique little question. So let's get started. Firstly, it would be inaccurate to make a blanket statement about an entire population. For example, tall couples should always do picture figures because their lines will look bigger. Now, different bodies do have different strengths, but there is always an exception to the rule. And we are not made like robots. Every body and every couple, which is even more complex in that it's two bodies, is built differently, okay? But I can say, generally, statistically speaking, okay, the taller, more slender couples do tend to do better in the standard and the Latin. Honestly, a large part of that is a substantial piece that the judges are looking at is the flight, okay? Now, people come in many different heights and couples come in different heights as well. But in a nutshell, when you have a tall person versus a short person, whether it's a man or a lady, generally that height difference is taken up in the legs, the leg length, which means a taller couple can get away with less flexibility or less athleticism, and they are can just as easily haul butt around the floor as that little couple with the itty bitty legs who really needs to have much greater strengths in other areas to compensate for those little legs. And again, this varies for every couple, but overall, yes, that taller couple is probably going to benefit doing the smooth or standard dances. And I would never take the flight out of someone's dancing. They are going to avoid collisions because they are skilled at floorcraft, not because they're dancing itty bitty. That would not be a competitive approach, really. Although certainly social dancing, I do recommend my competitive couples get back in their lane, take it down a notch, only because that speed can be intimidating to social dancers. And we're not there to impress the other social dancers. We're just there to practice and have a social dance like everyone else, okay? Now, they aren't necessarily longer in the picture figures either, but they do, all things being equal, their pictures will be larger. And although they will lack the speed of those more petite couples, it doesn't matter if you're doing, say, a waltz into an extremely extended X line or something, because the reality is when they both extend their top line or their legs, the ending extension line from point A to point B is going to be larger than that couple with little stubby arms or legs. Again, not overcomeable, does not apply to everyone, but yes, absolutely, that taller couple has a competitive advantage. Usually, all things being equal, in that they have longer legs, longer arms. Longer back line a little bit, but usually it's just in the arms and legs, friends. Now, we're also dealing with a bit of an optical illusion, okay? The reality is, really all ballroom and Latin couples, and I find especially the ballroom couples, meaning smooth and standard, who tend to be leaner anyway, look taller than they actually are. Okay, I'm not an extraordinarily tall person, but I'm probably a little bit tall for a ballroom dancer. And I have a couple theories behind this, but I'll, in simple terms, relate it to gymnastics. We do not see gymnasts who are 6'3". It takes a great deal more balance and coordination to control a big tall body than a little bitty body. This is just, again, I'm speaking in generalities, always an exception to the rule, but yeah, they're not going to be as tall as you might think. Okay, guys, I was stunned when I first met Katusha. I thought for sure she'd be 6'2". She was quite a bit shorter than me. Just it took me by surprise. I've taken from a former world champion, and the man was shorter than me. I was just gobsmacked, you know, because you see these people on TV and they look, you know, literally and figuratively like giants, you know. But the reality is, yeah, they're probably not as tall as you might think, okay? Now, again, if I am able to paint with a very broad brush, forgive me, the shorter, more muscular dancers tend to be, all things being equal, a little stronger in the Latin and rhythm. Why is it? Well, they have less distance to get to their maximum lines, okay? And in those dances, there's absolutely more of a combination of speed as well as lines and how fast you can hit point A to point B. Now, this would apply, say, in a tango, but this would absolutely not be the case in a Latin dance, excuse me. So, for example, if you're doing, I'm sure you all are familiar with a New Yorker, if you have little bitty arms, and it's hard for me to mimic because my arm is only one length, but if you're trying to make a shape from point A to point B, I can reach here faster than I can reach here. Okay, so it's going to give the illusion with that couple with the long body lines, all things being equal, and that they can move with equal velocity. They're just going to arrive slower and not look as cool and stand out as well on that rhythm or Latin comp floor. Again, everyone's different, but statistically speaking, this is generally would apply. Now, again, full disclosure, short is relative. I'm coming from the perspective of having a husband who is 6'7". So a lot of people look short to me. But anyway, I do have a theory here in why you don't see particularly as many tall pros doing Latin, or even open amateur. You know, they're gonna have a tougher time at it. And that is because when you are tall, you can only be so skinny. You're not gonna, you know, you might be a 5 foot tall lady and be 100 pounds and be just fine. You cannot be a 6 foot tall lady just physically, I guess, unless you have an eating disorder and weigh 100 pounds, and you're not gonna compete well if you have an eating disorder. So anyway, and as I've shared in previous videos, the Latin does tend to be a little bit more higher impact on your joints, which is more wear and tear on your body. And especially for the ladies, they have to wear 3-inch instead of 2.5-inch heels. And I have shared in a previous video the physics behind what that 1/2 heel difference makes in terms of the hardcore impact on your joints and your feet and your legs and your hips, even your spine. So the shorter couples, even in the standard, are going to have a little bit easier time with the, I'll say, wear and tear on their bodies. Okay, guys? Okay, I have a cute story for you. There was this massive, giant ballroom couple, my partner and I saw at Blackpool. I mean, honestly, the gal must have been 6'3". I don't even know how tall the guy was. Maybe 6'5", 6'6", quite extraordinarily tall for ballroom dancers. And there was a pro couple. I won't say from what country because I'm afraid too many people will know who I'm talking about. However, she was wearing a cheetah dress the first time we saw her, and we were just gobsmacked. They walked by, and my partner looks at me and goes, "Big cheetah." And it wasn't meant as an insult. We were just stunned by how tall this couple was. It was crazy. So anyway, I am, yeah, short. They're probably shorter than you think. And if they're shorter, they probably have a little bit more an inclination to do well in the Latin. So I hope that's been helpful for you. Thank you so very much for your questions, Alex. I just so appreciate it, guys. When you ask questions, it makes my job so much stinking easier. I love it. I do waste a lot of time just coming up with what I think are questions you might find interesting to hear about. And it sure helps me so much when you just ask, because I'm sure, guys, if you're thinking about it, there's probably 100 other people thinking it too, okay? So happy dancing, guys. And if you enjoy all things ballroom dance, hey, subscribe. And I will see you in the morning with more ballroom dance stuff. Okay, guys, have a great day.